eagles or bird wings symbolized in Daniel? Huh?
Right.
Not really.
Dominion over? No.
Swiftness. As far as those wild beasts, I said swiftness of conquest. Here, this woman is not going out to win a battle. She's fleeing. And it talks about a swiftness. She's going to be able to move quickly out into the wilderness. And into her place. She might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time. Again, that's 3.5 years. I don't know if I need to explain how I come up. Time is 1 year. Times is not plural. It's dual. So there's 3 years, and a half a time would be a half a year. But I can't prove it here. I have to go back to Daniel 7, and I don't know if everyone is here when I went through that then. But it says here, verse 15, and the serpent, same thing as a dragon or Satan, cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. This is symbolic terminology. Satan, it wasn't a really monstrous dragon, but he is a monster. And the woman is a composite of the Jews that have fled the nation of Israel when the Antichrist is taken over. And this flood that the dragon sends out against the woman is really a flood of armies. The Antichrist army. He's going to commission men to go out and chase her. Because one of the things that Satan has wanted to do throughout all the ages is get rid of the nation of Israel. If he can do that, he can prove that he is greater than God. Because God's made promises to that nation in spite of their waywardness that could not be fulfilled if they were no longer in existence. But the earth helped the woman. Remember Dathan, Abiram, Korah? Remember?
The earth opened up and they fell into the crack alive.
You're keeping up with me. I believe this is how the earth is going to help the woman. Because this flood that is being commissioned, I believe it says by the dragon, of course it'd be Satan inspired, but I believe these are literal, a flood. There are scriptures I could slow down and show you where it talks about a flood, and it's referring to an army of people. But he will send a flood after the woman that might cause her to be carried away. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood. Do you see this? Don't lose Revelation, because I'm still getting to what's the 110 days about. It seems like it takes a while to get to where I need to go. But hold on to Revelation 12. Go back to Daniel 11:41. He, the Antichrist, shall enter into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall what? Do you see that next word there? I'm in Daniel 11, verse 41. What's the next word? After these, but these shall what?
Escape.
Escape. Good. These shall escape out of his hand. You see, I believe this is where Israel's going to flee into the wilderness. And while Daniel doesn't tell us how that these little areas, we would call it Jordan today, but if it was given to us by a modern name, it wouldn't have meant anything to people living all the centuries in between now and back to Daniel. But in this area of Edom, Moab, and a good portion of Ammon, the Antichrist isn't going to be able to touch, because he's going to lose his armies that he sends out to chase these people. The earth is going to open up its mouth and swallow them up like it did in the days of Dathan, Abiram, and Korah. these shall escape out of his hand. So now, I believe Daniel is telling us exactly where in the wilderness Israel's going to flee to, whereas Revelation just gives the general point that they are definitely going to flee. But I want you to see something in the last verse of this chapter. Very significant. Not all Israel flees. Since the devil, the dragon, wasn't able to get to the woman, they determined, well, that's an exercise in futility. He was occupied. Now, eventually, they probably would have thought, well, in time, when we finish, they haven't conquered the whole world yet. That's going to take them most of the next 3.5 years. But they're saying, we want to deal right here in the land of Palestine, the land of Israel. It says, the dragon was wroth with the woman, and since he couldn't get a hold of her, it says, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. This lets me know that there were some people that didn't flee, that perhaps hid out in caves, holes in the ground, throughout the area of Israel, the nation of Israel. It says, these are Christians. Notice this. The remnant of her seed which keep the commandments of God, they're Jewish. Keeping the commandments of God is going to be something important to them, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And what I am seeing, and I don't have the whole picture, but what I am seeing here, and I haven't finished chapter 8, I know that. I thought I would. But I think this is vital for you to catch this along with the flow of thought. But we're told in Daniel 8 that there will be 2,300 evening and mornings during which the sacrifices, the sacrificial system, is going to be stopped. How long shall these sacrifices be stopped? 2,300 evening and mornings. Somehow, and now at this point I'm giving an interpretation, okay? I always like to tell you, I'm giving you pieces of the puzzle, but I think I'm right here. I believe it is the remnant of the woman's seed that's left in Israel that have not fled, and that the devil knows they're around there somewhere, and he's going to be trying to get them under attack. They're able to hide out for that period of time, 2,300 evening and mornings, until they get sufficient strength. I believe God's going to be with them on this. And they're going to go back in at 110 days before Armageddon. You know how I get 110 days now? You asked about the 1,260. Well, you subtract 1,150 from the 1,260, and what do you get? Are you with me? This is, it might sound a little different to you, but I'm saying it all adds up. 110 days before Armageddon. Somehow, this beleaguered remnant of the seed of the woman, while the Antichrist is out trying to conquer the rest of the world, because he only conquers the western part of the world before he goes in and takes over Jerusalem halfway through the tribulation period. But look at the bottom, and I'll get to this later, but I have to show it to you now because it fits in with the explanation that I have on this. Verse 44, after he's gone down to Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be in his steps, verses 42 and 43 of Daniel 11. Don't let me lose you. I'm back in Daniel 11. And notice the verse 44. But tidings out of the east, out of the north. Look at this. By the halfway point of the tribulation period, this king of the north that comes from somewhere in this area has conquered the western part of this world, which would to me include the United States, although we're not even mentioned. I don't know how that could happen and we not get our nose stuck into the situation, okay? But he comes on down here to Egypt. The Libyans are in his steps, and while he's down here, he hears tidings. See this? But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. These are the reports of the nations out to the east and to the north of where he comes from. This lets you know that the king of the north in Daniel 11 can't be Russia. Because what's north, what kingdom, power, world power can come up and give him threats that's north of where he originated. But tidings out of the north, this would mean up here toward Russia, it'd be going off the map this way. And east, this would be going out off the map this way to India, China, Japan. These nations out there aren't going to just sit down on their thumbs, so to speak, while this power is rising in the earth. And he's going to hear of this. Tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. And see the last verse of Daniel 11? And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas. You understand that too, I hope?
Dead Sea and the Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean Sea and the Dead Sea. Right here between them, and here's Jerusalem. He's coming back down. This is Armageddon. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Here's my point. If the man of sin, the Antichrist, has come into the glorious land, as it says in Daniel 11:41, and in Daniel 8, verse 9, if he's come in there and conquered that, why does the Bible say he's coming back down again to take that land back? The only possible reason, this adds circumstantial evidence to my conclusion here, is that before he can get back, Jerusalem is in the possession of the remnant of the seed. Israel's still out in the wilderness. They're still out there, the whole nation. But somebody has been inspired to take this back, and I submit it's largely because the little handful of soldiers that Antichrist leaves there, he thinks, well, I've got this taken care of, this is in the bag, so to speak. He's not worried about it. And it's not as protected as much. He needs his army to go out and take care of these nations that are making war tidings against him to the north and to the east. He will go out and conquer those areas, and nations that are not able, he doesn't have time to conquer them all. Then, according to Revelation 16, 3 unclean spirits like frogs will come out of the mouth of the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon, and these will go out to convince even those that are not literally conquered by the Antichrist to submit, and he will lead them. I'm now in Revelation 16, not slowing down to go and look it up, but he, the beast there, will lead them to a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And that's up here, folks. Armageddon. Does it show it on this? This is a New Testament map. Well, I'll have to show it over here. Yeah, right here's Megiddo. Harmageddo means the mound at Megiddo. Like the mountain. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on something. Okay, I agree with what your assessment that what's north of Israel today would be Syria or the Old Kingdom. But in Ezekiel 38 it talks about, and this is where I think people say it's Russia, when it talks about the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, God putting a hook in their jaw and drawing them down.
Good.
I think that's where the interpretation that people have that it's Russia. Can you elaborate on that for me?
All right. Sometime I need to get into those 2 chapters with you.
I'm sorry if I confuse things, but
It's okay, it's okay. A very appropriate and basically timely question. All right, remember, we read that tidings out of the north and the east, north and east, trouble the Antichrist. And he says, okay, I'm going to have to act swiftly. Now, this is what I submit on that. I'm not totally against the interpretation that puts Gog and Magog or Rosh and some of those nations, the word means chief. And it seems to refer there, if I recall, I'm not looking it up right now, but this does seem to be an extreme north. And because of that, I am not against the interpretation that says this actually does have reference to Russia. But, you see, whoever conquers a land becomes the chief prince of that land.